In an earlier episode, you had talked about there's not as much, there's not enough money. There, people aren't being funded to go out and do Bigfoot research. These things aren't happening. National Geographic's not doing it. Smithsonian's not doing it. The government's not doing it. And we had talked about, why aren't they flying drones in
Yes.
these areas? Why or some sort of recon photography, aerial photography? Well, along the southern border of California, they do fly drones. In fact, one crashed recently, and they shut the program down to figure out what went wrong. But these are highly technical, very expensive, planes that are doing aerial recon. I mean, they could easily.
Now, what is that for? Is that for border enforcement?
Well, I think it's strictly for the border enforcement. But I mean, it's not too long before your local sheriff's department is flying one over your house.
Well, that's interesting. I wonder if some of those, just like with the Mars rover. Well, go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, for instance, they had the little quadcopter on $10 million bounty.
Right. Yes.
So that's not very far off.
No, and see that if they could find areas where Bigfoot have been spotted in clear open areas, that
and
would
send these things up, just to cover the area.
It kind of reminds me of, and I was going to say the Falcon project with Jeffrey Meldrum was behind, but also with just the drones, if they do have them high overhead in a forested area where there's a lot of cover, they wouldn't necessarily use regular video cameras, but couldn't they use infrared?
Well, absolutely, because they use infrared all the time on finding Bigfoot.
Now, I wonder, just going back to the border, what you were talking about along the Mexican border, I wonder if there's anything that they have spot when they review all the footage.
There has to be.
That is out of the ordinary, that cryptozoologists might be interested in. I've never seen that before.
Well, it'd be interesting to know. I mean, surely the government's hiding a lot of secrets, and maybe those are just things that won't be revealed to us,
It reminds me of the Mars rover. They had a shot where it was looking down the ground and you saw rocks, and then one frame later, so they take a shot every certain amount of frames.
Are you saying there's a Bigfoot on Mars?
No, there was a rock that wasn't there before. So nothing had moved, and there was a rock, and it's in the news. You can see photos of it. And then they're speculating. They say we don't know what it is, but what we speculate could be that a rock was lodged in one of the tires as it
fell off,
and it fell off at a certain point.
That's interesting.
But they don't know that for certain, and then there's other things. Well, it could also be this.
Well, there's so many things being revealed to us currently in the news with the Edward Snowden thing. Some people say he's a traitor. Some people say he's a freedom fighter.
If somebody did something like that 30 years ago, people, everybody would be against it. But they're just like, well, wait a second. We're kind of seeing how.
Something along the lines of the drones and, all the government revealing of government secrets. They just introduced legislation. Pretty soon it's going to be mandatory that your vehicle is fitted with a device.
Oh, we'll talk about that next episode.